Saturday night at the Meadowlands is a huge night of racing with 11 stakes races on the card from 14 total races, 620 post time. There's a lot of wagering opportunities here. There's a $50,000 guaranteed pick four in race number 4 and a $100,000 guaranteed pick four in race number 8. And that's what we're going to focus on here. But before we do, I want to mention that you can get free PPs for the entire card and find out about a 5% rebate on win and exotic wagering. Well, exact to be particular there. You can just check out the QR code on the screen, and that'll take you to all those goodies. But right now, we have the omnipresent Matt Rose here to join us to talk about the $100,000 guaranteed pick four. It starts in race 8, and it starts with the Dorothy Houghton Memorial, Matt.
Yeah, for starters, I got to mention a great card at the Medalins. Great show they always put on Medalins Pace night. And yeah, a bunch of stakes races, and we have a $100,000 guarantee wrapping up with the Medalins Pace. And we start with some familiar mares here, namely Twinbee Joe Fresh and Sylvia Hanover, who are, I guess you could say, they are renewing their rivalry. And they put on quite a show last week in the Perfect Sting, or last start in the Perfect Sting. Interesting now with the post discrepancy here. Do you think it's going to, take Sylvia Hanover out of the race? It's possible.
I think it makes it a little harder for her. I think obviously driver Tim Tetrick's going to gun out and try to get position. He did it last time from the rail. I don't see any difference from post 9. But why don't we take a look at that replay from last week and well, it was actually 2 weeks ago,
Right.
and see how it shaped up. Twinbee Joe Fresh was first over, but I think most people expected her to win anyway, and there comes Sylvia to grab her.
Was it a question of Twinbee Joe Fresh just not being at her best and flattening a little bit, or was it just Sylvia Hanover just running her over with a massive burst of speed? The fact that it wasn't like she just got up. It's like she was drawn away. So, are there going to be some doubters now in Twinbee Joe Fresh's corner now? Because everybody expects, expecting another, close to undefeated season. What do you think? Does she come right back? I got to imagine she's going to be favored again, but possibly not odds on. But,
yeah. Instead of 1 to 9 this week, you might actually get 3 to 5 or 2 to 5.
Probably deservedly so, even though she did lose last start.
Listen, every horse can have a bad day, and I think that it probably was a bad day. Do I think that's combined with the fact that Sylvia Hanover is probably as good as she has been in quite some time? Absolutely. I think she's racing much better now, and clearly she has a shot here. I mean, I'd be looking against her in this spot only for the fact that, last time she was 10 to 1. She was a nice play. This week she's going to be 3 to 1, and I don't think it's a great spot for her. I like other horses in here, like my girl EJ, who came out of the same race, ended up finishing third. Was used hard to a 53 and 4 half and 121 and 3 3/4. That was first time Lasix. I saw good improvement there. To me, she's the 10 to 1 this week that maybe you can pop onto if you were looking for another horse.
Well, yeah, she figures to be she could be a speed player that can get in Sylvia Hanover's way off the gate. I'm looking at another potential speed player in Kobe's Gigi, recently returned to the Ron Burke barn. She's just a classy mare, and her early tactical speed always sets her up with a nice either rating on the front end or a nice trip. And anytime you're close up, it gives a good horse a shot. So I kind of like her as maybe the other horse to break up Twinbee Joe Fresh and Sylvia Hanover. So I'm looking at using Kobe's Gigi on my ticket, hoping she leaves and maybe ends up with a trip.
So Matt's going with Twinbee Joe Fresh and Kobe's Gigi in the opening leg of this $100,000 guarantee pick four. I'm just going to stick with Twinbee Joe Fresh. Try to, keep my value here because I'm going to spread deeper in the other legs. We're going to move on to race number 9, and what a race this is. As you can see up on the screen, we could barely fit all 13 horses on the screen here. 10 on the gate, 10 on the gate, 3 in the second tier, and, a lot of ways this race can go, Matt.
Longer distance also. We have 1.125 miles, which gives them much more run into the first turn for the trotters to sort themselves out. But yeah, with 3 trailers, I'm not sure if the second tier is where you want to be, because I suppose, there's going to be horses out the mile. It's going to be most likely flow immediately with outside horses trying to get involved. And it's anybody's guess as to how this race shapes up. One thing I think is pretty much for certain, Sir Pinocchio leaves the gate every week. And we saw he finished, it was in traffic and maybe looked like he could have a little bit more in his last start in the Graduate, but didn't. And you have Alista Hanover with a better post. He's going to be involved. Warren Michelle, the upset winner. There's 100 different ways you can go with 13 horses here.
9 of the 13 horses were in the same race last week, which was the Graduate final for the Trotters. And why don't we take a look at that replay and see how it played out? And we had Private Access on the lead, and I think a lot of people were thinking, hey, this horse is home free. But Oki Sponset with Warren Michelle came and got him, and also Lista Hanover was huge in that race as well, finishing second.
Yeah, Lista Hanover had a long trip from the 10 post and just, I guess, needed to be second over, or not like the third or fourth over early on, but they both ran well. A lot of horses ran well in this race, but again, with this bulky field, I'm going to use Alista Hanover. I'm definitely using Sir Pinocchio. Warren Michelle, I can see her repeating. Obviously not at the price you got last week, but still. Private Access says who's the morning line favorite. I guess he could be the favorite here. I don't know, but I'm going 3 deep. I'm using the 5, 6, and 8. Alista Hanover will be my top play. But yeah, there's certainly a lot of ways you can go here.
I'm also going with Alista Hanover as my top play in here. I really like the effort. She actually showed a little bit of speed and at the beginning of the mile, but there was just no place to go, and then closed late. So she's my top play. I'm going with Long Shots as my other horse on the ticket, and I'm going to tell you why first. Which I'm not using Private Access and I'm not using Warren with Michelle, not because they can't win, but because they're both going to be short-priced horses or shorter-priced horses, right. And both are racing with no Lasix. This race doesn't allow for Lasix. So I don't mind using a horse without Lasix like Sir Pinocchio, who's going to be a decent price. But I don't want to bet a favorite who's going off the medication that they race on every single week because I think it's too much of an unknown. So my other horses on my ticket, Emoji Hanover, who people are going to look at it coming off just the qualifier, hasn't raced in a month, and she broke in the qualifier. She took one bad step, and she was fine after that. In the Umbro flight, she had no shot before that. She's going to be a monster price. And you know what? I have all the faith in the world in trainer Luke Blay that he can get this horse, into the shape she needs to be in. The other horse I'm going to use is Highland Kismet. For the first time all year, we saw him go a flat mile. I mean, granted, finished last, stopped badly, but he was used hard in that mile, first over. So there's some positives I could take away from that. Everyone's going to be off the bandwagon. He's going to be a big price in here. So I'm going 3 deep, 3, 6, 7, and we're going to move on to race number 10, which is the William Houghton Memorial. This is one of 2 divisions. And in this field, we have 11 horses, and the morning line favorite is number 9, Ken Hanover, who's arguably the best older horse in the country right now, Matt.
Yeah, I think he's clearly is the now horse. Coming off a win in the Battle of Lake Erie at Northfield, and then winning on the front end in the Dave Brower Memorial last start, I should say, which was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I mean, we've seen her come from off the pace. We've seen her cut the mile. We've seen her rip out of a pocket. He is in career form, and I don't think the 9-hole is going to be too much of a problem for Dave Miller to get out of the gate and set him up with a winning trip. But Captain Luke from the middle of the gate, picking up Todd McCarthy now, I think he's an interesting play because he's got some speed and mid-pack post, and again, he'll be one of those front runners that may end up with a pocket ride. And I certainly wouldn't dissuade his chances here.
I'm on board with both those horses on my ticket. I have a couple more on my ticket. One of them is By the Missile, who, he's the kind of horse you have to have him on your ticket because if he shows up, he's going to win. I mean, the problem is
how many
sometimes
times
he
have
doesn't.
we said that, though? I mean, how many times have we said if he shows up, he's going to win?
But it's the truth. I mean,
I know.
And here's the thing: if he was going to be 4-5 in this spot or 6-5 in this spot, like he was last time, I think he was 6-5, then I wouldn't use him because, quite frankly, he's not worth betting as the favorite because he doesn't always, come with his A game. But this week, he's probably going to be 5-2 in here, or 3-1,
Maybe
and
higher, maybe higher.
Well, even higher. How do you not have him on your ticket if he's going to be a price when you know he's probably the fastest horse in the race?
I just, you know what, I want to see consistency from him. And yeah, I think he does take money. It's almost like the name recognition. He does get over bet, and yeah, he won't be a favorite here or a heavy favorite, or might not be the favorite at all. Probably not. But you know what? There, he might get stuck getting off the gate from the second tier, and we saw he was unable to sustain like a second move on the rim in his last start. So I'm gonna toss him. I'm gonna toss the if he's good enough he can win horse, and I'm gonna stick with probably the two speed numbers, Ken Hanover and Captain Luke. Hoping both of them are not used too hard and sitting up close.
Okay, the one other horse I have on my ticket is kind of a bomb here, and that's number 4, Fun Time Bayama. Basically not involved at all in the last couple of races, just been taken back to the back and has closed pretty well, 25-2, 25-4. So it's not like he's tired at the end of these miles. I think this is a spot where it's time to take a shot with him again. They took a shot in the first couple of starts of the year, and it just, of the graduate, and it didn't really work out. I think this horse seems to be in better shape now. We're getting a new driver, James McDonald. Maybe he handles him a little bit differently. I'd like to see him be put in play, and maybe I can get a huge price there on Fun Time Bayama. We're going to move on to race number 11, which is the $656,000 Medalins Pace. That's what everyone's here for the night. I already shot a video, basically going over, in depth with Jay Bergman the entire race. So I'm not going to spend too much time on my picks other than to say I'm going 4 deep in here. Poppy's Pistol, Prince Hanover, who's my top pick, who I think is going to be in great position. It's going to leave, probably sit the pocket behind Matt and Oaks, the 9, also on my ticket. And I'm going to throw in Captain Optimistic because, you know what, something tells me they're going to get this horse right, in time for the big final here with the big money on the line. Matt, how do you see this race going?
First of all, you notice it's a 9-horse field, not a 10-horse field, which is kind of a shame because you have the North America Cup winner, Blueprint, who is scratch 6, scratch injured, scratched. Hopefully he'll be back in a couple months. So yeah, the race takes on a kind of different shape, and I think it's really cool to see Madden Oaks as the morning line favorite. With a young up-and-coming driver and a young, possibly up-and-coming trainer, Braxton Boyd and Cameron Capone. And we saw what he did in the North America Cup, just missing, which at a big price. Problem is he's not going to be a big price here, and he's stuck outside again. So we've seen he has a huge turn of speed. So I think Braxton Boyd, he'll be firing, but honestly, I mean, I think I'm on board with you with the same 4 horses, which are the 4 logical horses, which are Prince Hal Hanover, Madden Oaks, Captain Optimistic, and Poppy's Pistol. I said those in the order of my top 4. Prince Hal Hanover for all the reasons that are pretty obvious after that blowout mile, and he'll be sitting a trip. Captain Optimistic, Dexter Dunn, Nancy Tactor. Yeah, could he be a little better coming to this race? Sure. And Poppy's Pistol might, he can definitely sit close up or sit like a mid-pack trip, slip out, and, if he gets clear running, he might have a big kick, especially if he's not used throughout the mile. So I went 4 deep in the same 4 with you, I believe.
Yeah, and I just want to point out, normally I might not go 4 deep in this race. I would try to pare it down, but, in some of my earlier legs, I have some big bombs with like Emoji Hanover and Highland Kismet and Funtime Bayama. So I feel like if I hit one of those, I want to be alive, with pretty good coverage here because I don't know that I feel like Prince Hanover can't lose or Madden Oaks can't lose. I think those are the 2 horses that I'm most keen in on, but, the right scenario, either one could lose.
How about Manolette? Is it Manolette or Manolette? I believe it's
like Manolette, but
okay.
It's up to you.
Could Manolette be an upsetter here, at least, as part of the early scrum? Scott's here on trying to get him off the gate. He's been a nice, consistent horse. He doesn't win all that often, but he's always right there. And you know what? Maybe with a little racing luck, tonight could be his night for Scott Zeron and Bruce Saunders. Wouldn't shock me. Not using him, but definitely wouldn't shock me, especially if he can get some forward position here.
Well, certainly anything's possible, and I don't know if he's going to leave or not. That'll be interesting to see. Why don't we take a look at our pick four tickets? Just pop them up on the screen here, and you can see I have a $24 play. I'm singling Twinbee Joe Fresh in the first leg, and I have a lot of coverage, but I have a lot of long shots in there to make it worthwhile. So even if the favorites come in, I'm not going to lose money on the ticket. It's a 50-cent play. Matt also put up a $24 play as well.
Yeah, we're slightly different here because I did not keep Twinbee Joe Fresh. I'm hoping for the young Jingron Magic with the Burke trainee, Kobe Gigi, who she deserves a shot to maybe step up on the big stage and actually, win a big race. And then I spread in that 13-horse trot race. I kind of narrowed it down in the Houghton. And then I used the same 4 logicals, I guess you can say, in the Medalins Pace.
Well, let's look at 2 pick 4 plays on a $100,000 guaranteed pool that starts in race number 8. 14 races on the card, 6:20 first race post time with 11 stakes races. We have free PPs as well as a 5% rebate offer on win and exacta wagering. You can check out the QR code on your screen if you want to check any of that stuff out. And we hope to see you at the Meadowlands on Saturday night for what's going to be a great night of racing. Good luck.